Good morning, everybody. My name is David J. Coon. I'm with Qigong Awareness. Welcome to this moment. Welcome to this morning's practice. Thank you for those of you who are around the country and elsewhere joining me this morning to practice some Qigong. Welcome. So today, our subject matter of the day is mental clarity, longevity, and healing, and what Qigong has to do with all of this. These are important pieces, I think, to why practice Qigong. If you're going to do anything in your life, you have to understand the why. What's the why? So that's the why. So these are some of the reasons why. So mental clarity is something that we all need, and many of us have difficulty with on a daily basis. Busy lives, busy schedules, et cetera, et cetera. We're always dealing with challenges and things that are pulling at us. This is always going to be a part of our being until it's not, until we achieve some state which various master teachers may refer to as Zen mind or clear mind or empty mind, or if you've ever heard the reference to no mind. This type of reference of like no mind, it doesn't mean brainless. It means that we are of clear mind. It doesn't mean that we can't think for ourselves or that we're tuning out into some type of enlightenment that's so far over here that it doesn't impact our life right here, right now. Many sword masters, for example, who teach, martial art like sword training, like kendo, things like this. There's this idea of being able to be in a practice of combat, literally sword fighting with another entity, and yet you're not. You're in the state of clear mind, of empty mind, of Zen mind. For us, we're not going to deal with swords today. I don't have any swords with us for us to play with today, except the sword of our own mind, using our own decisiveness, using our own ability to cut away, to trim away the fat, etc., from our emotional past. Always what it is that we're carrying with us until we do not carry it with us is our emotional past. We're going to bring it with us wherever we go, whatever we do, whether we're having a good day or we're having a bad day, or we're having a really good day or we're having a really bad day, whatever that happens to be. Our emotional past is being carted around with us wherever we go. And it lives, essentially, it lives in our belly. It lives in what's called, but in the Indian terms, it lives in what's called the second chakra, okay? And what we work with in Qigong practice, we work with the lower dantien that really combines those two areas, the first chakra and the second chakra. And we're going to work with lighting up the lower dantien, lighting up the root chakra, lighting up the hara, which is an area just below the navel center. And it's going to be like a cooking pot. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat that up to generate what's called qi. And in the basement, technically, that qi is referred to as jing. We're going to heat that up. We're going to create a fire down there. And that's actually going to start to cook something. What's it going to cook? It's actually going to cook our emotional past. How is it that our emotional past shows up in our body? Our emotional past shows up in our body in terms of the stress that we feel, the tension that we feel, the resistance that we feel. If you ever sit in meditation long enough to perceive what it is that's actually going on there in the body, in your nervous system and so on, in your blood and in your tissues, you're going to recognize and realize something that many masters and many meditators and many Qigong practitioners and alchemists have realized long before you ever did, long before I ever did. You're going to recognize and realize what's in there. And what's actually in there is something called fear. Yes, it's resistance. Yes, it's emotional. And if you trace it back to really what it is, what that resistance is, it's like a gripping, it's like a holding on, and it's actually fear. That's actually what it is. And so many of us, if not all of us, we could say this different ways, but many of us, we'll just say it that way, are avoiding facing that, or avoiding looking at that, or avoiding having anything to do with it. So we hold on to it, we compartmentalize it, we wear certain clothes, we put certain things on our faces, we go about living our lives in certain ways, trying to mask how we really feel inside, what we're really journeying inside. Well, again, Everybody is journeying this. I'll say it again this way. Everybody's journeying this. Very few people are not journeying this. And the majority don't think they're journeying it at all, but they are journeying it, but they don't think they are because they're masking it, they're compartmentalizing it. But here's the thing, if you really want mental clarity, if you really want to improve your life, the quality of your life, in terms of your physical health, in terms of what you're able to attract in your life, who you're able to attract in your life, what you're bringing into your life, all of these kinds of things, it is all interconnected and intimate with your emotional content and the unfinished business that lives in your belly. When it comes to healing the body, we are working with, in Qigong practice, we are working with lighting up that lower dantien so as to burn through the nervous system and the meridian system, the acupuncture meridian system, so that we can cleanse out the effects, the impact that fear, that tension, that stress has had on our bodies. And what we're also looking to do is go beyond and take a leap above and beyond fear, both emotionally and also physically. So first it's emotionally in the way that it is, it's energetically, and then it's emotionally, and then from there it becomes physical. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a leap on the level of energy. That's a big part of our practice of what we're trying to do, is move our energy from the basement, okay, the lowest part of our chakric ladder, and move that upward into the level and into the awareness of the heart center. Many master teachers will refer to the heart center as a seal, not a chakra, but a seal. And not the animal that barks like a dog, but actually a seal, in that it is sealed, okay? There's unawareness there. You always have a heart chakra, but you have no awareness of it until it begins to open. And when it begins to open, what it begins to secrete in your body has exponential healing power to it, has exponential power in terms of the kind of clarity it's going to bring you in your life, and so on and so forth. What we're going to begin to open up in the heart chakra today, at least this is our goal, is to help open up this heart chakra area, which is related to the gland called the thymus gland. The thymus gland holds great healing power and healing potential in it. It started shrinking from the time you were 18 years old. It went from being like a quarter down to being like smaller than a dime. This little tiny sac holds and houses very, very powerful hormones. Every gland in your body, every one of them is associated with a chakra, and every single one of them houses a powerful cell-to-cell communicator called hormone. That hormone is going to reach through your body from head to toe. It is the strongest, longest lasting cell-to-cell communicator in your body. It is going to last 3 to 5 days, not 3 to 5 seconds, which a lot of them do. Most of them do last about that long. It's going to actually last 3 to 5 days. And if there's only 2 types of hormone that get secreted from these different glands, life hormone or death hormone. So I realize that's a big story I just told you. I told you in a nutshell. I put it in a nutshell for you. I want always you to have a reason for why you're practicing what you're practicing, because otherwise these movements that I'm going to share with you, they don't have a whole lot of meaning. You'll practice them once, you'll practice them twice, you might even practice them 5 times, and then you won't really practice them anymore. You'll go look for something better. You'll go look for the greatest new thing out there because you'll say, well, maybe they didn't really help me and so on. So what I want to do is I want to give you the goal, like what it is that you're trying to do. And what you're trying to do is heal this emotional past, light it on fire, bring that energy up into your heart center, bring into your body the experience of not just stress hormone and death hormone and aging hormone, which is all the same kind of hormone that we're typically secreting in our bodies on a daily basis, which creates that lack of mental clarity, which creates that all kinds of problems in the physical body. I want to turn you on to something called life elixir. I want to turn you on to Qi. I want to turn you on to an opening of the heart center. So that's the whole picture of what it is that we're going to try and do with these practices. Now I want to take you into the practices of how we get that done. How do we actually make that happen? Okay? Any questions? I'm sorry, I can't answer them right now. But if you have them, please email me. Please send them to me later. I am happy to answer every single one of your questions. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to step back, readjust the camera here a little bit. We're going to get into some physical practices of the how-to. How do we do that? How do we find some mental clarity, dissolve some of our stress, etc., etc. Turn on some life hormone. Here we go. Okay, so most people's energy, okay, bring your hands like this. Bring your hands, place them just below the navel center, okay? Right hand could be on top, left hand could be on top, doesn't matter. Go ahead and hold this area. Bring your attention and your awareness there. Stand with me now. Hold this position. You can also do this position seated if for whatever reason you need to. Your health is in such a state that you need to sit. It's okay that you do that too. First and foremost, we're going to bring our hands right here. Okay? We're going to bring our hands right here and we're going to hold this area just below the navel center. Go about 1.5 inches. Maybe, you know, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches right below the navel center. This area in martial art, we call this area the hada. Okay? This is where our power comes from. If we're going to throw a punch or we're going to do something, this is where the power has to come from. If I'm going to break something, a board or a brick, this is where the power has to come from. I want you to go ahead and hold this area right here, and I want you to bring your awareness there. And I'm talking, but I actually want you to bring your breath there. So I want you to notice your breath, and I want you to notice this area of your body. I want to tell you something about this area. This area, number one thing I want to tell you about the area is it is super important. It's super important. That's number one. Number two comment anyway, it is out of most people's level of awareness. Most people are like, what about this area? What about it? I've laid my hands there, I don't feel anything there. This is the point. I want to bring you back to where you have an awareness of this area. In order to have an awareness of this area, you have to bring back a certain amount of energy to this area before you're going to have any awareness of this area. Let's see if you can follow this. It's a tricky concept a little bit if it's the first time you've ever heard it. But your awareness of this area is no longer there because there's not enough energy there. So if there's not enough energy here, how can there be enough awareness here? There cannot be. That's an important point to make. So wherever we bring our awareness, we start to bring our energy. Energy will follow where it is that our awareness is. So for a moment, while you're holding this area, bringing your awareness to this area simply by holding your hands here and simply by me bringing some attention and some awareness to this area and helping you focus there, therefore bringing your focus there, thereby helping you gain mental clarity by improving your discipline of focus immediately, and bringing your breath there to this area of the lower dantien, you immediately begin to bring your energy here and you begin to set this area on fire with your awareness. Although in the beginning, initially, this can be a very boring practice, seemingly for some people. I'm just going to lay my hands here. I'm just going to breathe. That's very boring. I promise you, if you practice this 5 minutes a day, even for 7 days, for the next 7 days, if you practice this practice for 5 minutes each day, I promise you, you are going to have an experience from it that will lead you to wanting to practice it for another 5 minutes somewhere down the line. I'm not saying day 8, you'll want to practice it again, but you might skip 3 days, 5 days, you might even skip a month But I promise you, you're going to be thinking about it because it's going to bring an experience that you're not used to having. It's going to create a warmth in your belly that I don't have enough time to tell you about during this 1 hour practice session that I have with you today. But it is going to bring a warmth to your belly. It's going to do things for you that are going to take you another 5 years to learn about in terms of all of what it's going to do for you. But all of that 5 years worth of knowledge starts with a 5-minute practice. So that's what we're doing right now. We're practicing this practice for approximately 5 minutes. Go ahead and take a breath in. When you're standing at home, you're practicing this practice, just go ahead and set a timer for yourself. Watch your clock. Give yourself about 5 minutes. Your goal during the practice is to be physically still. If my face itches, it can itch, but don't scratch it. That means don't pick your hands up and scratch your face. Just stay still. If my hips start to get tight, just try and relax them, but don't move them. Don't pick your foot up and move it. You'll notice my body during the 5 minutes of this practice, I'm not going to move it. You're not going to see me move my body. Right now, my face may itch. It may itch really bad, but I will not move my hands. Why? It's going to take time to learn about this, but I'll give you a brief preview of it. That would be my emotions talking to me. My emotions want me to do stuff all the time. They're always uncomfortable. They're always in some state of dis-ease. So therefore, my emotions, if you follow what I'm saying, are mastering me. I'm not mastering my emotions. And they're having me run around in my life in such a way that they're having me do this and do that and do the other thing, including, by the way, a whole lot of thinking, which leads to a whole lot of what? A lack of mental clarity. So in order to have mental clarity, I have to master my emotions. Take a deep breath. Just a little bit longer with this one, and we'll move on to another practice. This practice could be practiced at length, half hour, 1 hour. If you feel dizzy at all, you feel dizzy, anything like this during this practice, just sit down for a minute. Just take a little rest with it. If you feel nauseous with this practice, you know, on one hand, the practice seems like, what's that going to do? It doesn't really do much. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hits you. And for some of you, depending on what your state of health is, what's going on in your physical body, because this is going to start working with your internal endocrine system, your hormones, your chi flow, etc., this will start to detox your body. And in that process of detox, some of you are going to feel toxic right away. And what do I mean by that? You'll feel nauseous. Your organs will start to essentially throw up. It's like a detox process from what you're pouring into your body. And you'll feel nauseous because your body's trying to clean up what is being thrown into your blood. So where's that poison stored? It's stored in your tissues. And so when the tissues throw up, essentially, when they vomit, that vomit goes into the blood. And you're going to feel that in your blood, and it's going to make you feel queasy, it's going to make you feel nauseous, and so on. Some of you will get to bypass that because you feel pretty good already. Those of you who are dealing with things like cancer, for example, you might even throw up. You're practicing this for 5 minutes, and literally, you have to go move and go throw up. because literally it will cause your body to produce so much toxin that then wants to get out of the body, and that's the quickest way for the body to get it out. This would be an extreme example, okay, so to speak. Go ahead and take 3 deep breaths. Always breathe into the belly first, slow through your nose. Fill the belly, then the upper abdomen, then the lungs, then exhale. Then again, through the nose to the belly, slow. Upper abdomen, lungs, exhale. Awesome, let's shake it out. Practices like this that you see me do on the videos, and I highly recommend practicing along with me in some of those 20-minute videos, those 23, 25-minute videos that I have, like Qigong for energy, greater energy, Qigong for greater mental clarity, Qigong for weight loss. This could be just as easily called and entitled Qigong for mental clarity, or removing the toxicity due to emotional buildup. So it can be practiced by those of you who are also thin, don't even have any issues with physical weight. What I'm always really referring to is emotional weight. And these types of practices in general, like this, moving, we're going to bring our hands up, shaking like this. Movement practices like this, although they are absolutely working with the endocrine system, this practice right here has an emphasis on the lymph system. It's shaking the arms and the wrists, and the idea is that this is all very relaxed, but it's shaking. You're shaking the whole body by shaking like this. This has a direct impact on cleaning up the stagnation in the lymph system, okay? The lymph system is responsible for what? Anybody know? Cleaning up the blood. Dirty blood leads to a dirty lymph system. If the lymph system can't keep up with it, anybody know what that leads to? It leads to the dirty C word, cancer, okay? Go ahead and tap like this, another excellent exercise for cleaning up the blood and cleaning up the lymph. Careful of the chest area. Tapping the arms across the chest. Arms. Hands. Fingertips. Brush the arms. Turn it over. Palm up. Here. Working with the lymph system. Okay? A dirty lymph system. Does it lead to clarity, mental clarity, or lack of mental clarity? What do you think a dirty lymph system gives the brain? It doesn't give it clarity. So cleaning up the lymph system, very important. Keep it moving. The general theory and principle and understanding in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, is that where there is flow within the body of qi, of blood, of lymph, etc., through the body, endocrine movement with our glands and hormones, the more that there is movement in all of that, the more health that we have, and the greater the stagnation, the greater the dis-ease. So go ahead and bend your knees slightly, okay? I'm just going to adjust this camera for a moment, bear with me. Just going to bend your knees a little bit like this, okay? And just, first thing is sit down like this. This means sit down. And I can stand here and be very upright. It's not about how low I go with my butt. This is just about sitting into your legs and feeling like you're sinking to the floor. That's the experience that I would like you to have. Sink to the floor. Sink a little bit. And then what I want you to do is I want you to shift your weight to one side where you feel heavy over here. And even lean on this side. You can even lean. And then shift your weight over here so that you're leaning over here. And again, as much as possible, have this feeling like you're falling to the floor, but your legs are holding you up, okay? So I'm leaning to this side. I'm leaning to this side. I'm not just stretching. I'm literally heavy to the floor. Heavy to the floor, okay? This is a very important practice. It gets you down into the lower dantien and helps center you. Now I'm going to have you go ahead and move your lower body like this. Just a little bit. You're trying to rotate your hips a little bit. Your knees are staying slightly bent, and you're moving your legs around in different directions, little half circles, little full circles. And then back to sitting. Good. And then tap out the thighs. You don't have to slap real hard or anything, whatever's comfortable for you. I do a lot of running and training and stuff with my legs. My legs are pretty built up, so I got to kind of hit them a little bit harder to get things moving. Good. Now again, we're talking about clearing the root chakra, get some mental clarity, also creating some heat in the lower dantien so as to burn through our emotional rubbish. So I got a practice for you here to do that, another practice to do that. First, we're going to go ahead and take an inhale here, and then just come up about shoulder height. Just inhale through the nose, slow. This one right about shoulder height, neck height, and then slowly exhale. When you're doing this practice, the idea is not just that you're making this movement, it's going to take time, but it's to literally bring your chi down, bring your breath down, bring your mind down. So we sink into this horse stance a little bit, and again, you know, this is going to be easier, okay? This is going to be harder, this is going to be harder, okay, the lower we go, and so on. So whatever's comfortable for you to start with, okay, wherever you're at with that. But then slow, inhale. Here, exhale. One more. On this one, let the exhale keep going and go. And go up. Exhale, continues trying. Get it out of your belly. Ah. You can also make the sound like at the doctors where you go ah. If nobody's watching, you don't feel too weird, you can stick your tongue out. Ah. The idea is to rid the belly of carbon dioxide. And old chi. And just let that fade. Good, fantastic. Okay, so the next practice that we're going to do, we're also going to use a particular breath. This breath is fantastic in terms of clearing the emotional body. If you have stress, which is what I was talking about earlier, so the emotions, I didn't mention this to you, so I gotta, for those of you who haven't heard that term before, the emotional body is basically it's like your physical body, but it's where all the emotional content is held. It's a subtle energy body that plays with the physical body and impresses upon it energetically. Many studies have been done with this from different perspectives in the psychology world and the energy world and the physics world and so on. Short version of that for now. So what we want to do is we want to cleanse this. We want to purify this. We want to get rid of our emotional past, like I was talking about before. And in order to do that, we've got to burn it. We've got to burn it up, and we've got to move the energy through our whole body and through our nervous system. This particular breath is a yogic breath, but it's also practiced by Taoists, practiced in Qigong. There are certain monks you will see do this that can heat up towels on their backs. If they're sitting out in the snow, half naked, and they literally have this towel on their back and they cause it to steam. Anyway, this particular breath is called the breath of fire, and we're going to use it with a Qigong pose. Anytime we do a static pose, which is, we're going to do this one, called standing like a post. I refer to this sometimes as hugging the tree. But either way, regardless of what we call it, this is the pose. It's like you're hugging a tree or holding a barrel. In China, traditionally, it's called standing like a post. You stand like this, you're holding yourself still. And from this position, it's a static position. We call this a mudra. This can be referred to, like in India, it's referred to as a mudra, a static position. Okay? In this static position, at first, just go ahead and hold that like a statue, and then like just shake it out. Shake it out. Because these static poses can be difficult. Again, knees close in, feet close in. Easier way to practice it, harder way to practice it. So wherever you're at, make sure you adjust your legs accordingly. Closer in, easier. Farther apart, harder. So then from there, instead of just lifting the arms, let them, see if you can actually go like this. You're going to let them start to float. You want to try and let them float and then turn your hands. And then the elbows will round out a little bit. So my first Tai Chi teacher, X number of years ago, taught me that this is like being brought up by puppet strings. Puppet strings. You'll find that over time, that really makes a difference. You try and lift, and then you feel the tension in your shoulders. But if you let it rise up, hold, becomes much easier. Over time, not initially. Initially, mudras, static poses are just difficult positions. The magic of this pose is the positioning of it, and also the stillness aspect of it. As you hold this pose and you practice it by being still, again, to begin with, it's just a challenge. Just think of it as a challenge. The deeper practice comes later, where this is like a meditation. Some teachers, this is the only practice that they will do, and literally like their class is 45 minutes long, and this is the only practice they do. And so literally you get a chance to build up your practice. The whole practice, you're just doing this. Or you're taking a rest and then coming back to the practice. Anyway, there's a lot to be learned from this exercise, but I challenge you just for a couple of minutes to start to play with it, to work with it. Just like all the Qigong poses and all the Qigong practices, like all the king's horses and all the king's men. I'm just kidding. You know, humor's good while you're being challenged. But just like all the Qigong poses and postures, until you have 1 minute of experience with it, until you actually have 1 minute of Qigong high from the practice, well, then it's just a challenging practice. It's uncomfortable, it's difficult, and you won't really like it. I didn't like this practice when I first learned it. Not at all, actually. It's quite a challenging one for me. And then go ahead and relax that. Tap this out. Tap in here. And actually, you know what? It's still a challenging practice. Well, with all the weightlifting and running and swimming and everything else that I do, I'm usually sore in my body already. Working on the computer a lot, I'm sore in my body already. And then to go ahead and lift my arms and hold the static pose, it's kind of uncomfortable. Like even just practicing there with you guys for a few minutes. I've done this at length, but you know, it's very challenging. And so anyway, I like to practice this for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Rarely, for me personally, these days, do I even do this one, you know, more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So working up to 5 or 10 minutes is a really, really good goal for you. You know, in a more disciplined seminar, something like this, like, you know, someone has a specific focus, practicing this for 40 minutes or something, 45 minutes, an hour, it's a great challenge. And that's awesome, but that's an advanced practice for sure, in my opinion. So just 5 minutes, 3 minutes on a daily basis, every other day. And if you're doing this with me, and it's working for you in the way that it's working for me, I'm starting to shake inside. When you start getting heat built up in your core, in your basement, you're gonna start to shake. It's going to generate a lot of heat and it's going to generate a lot of fire, okay? So I'm already starting to shake and I'm already starting to burn. So go ahead, shake that out. I also promised you I'd introduce you to the breath of fire, so I'll do that in a minute. Thanks for those of you sending me vibes, telling me I forgot to tell you about that part. So when you're doing, there's different ways you can use the breath of fire. You can use the breath of fire anytime. You could be, you know, I do it when I'm driving in my car, trying to move some stress. But you can do it at any time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach it to you in such a way that this is a practice to do when you're in a pose, like a static position. You're holding a posture, something that's kind of challenging. In other words, a mudra, like what I shared with you earlier, just like standing like a post. Or you could use it in some of our other mudras that some of you may know that I've taught you before, or some of you, you'll see some other poses later where we do like a pose like this, for example. We're doing a standing tree meditation, the arms are straight up out to the sky. So these static positions, again, are very challenging, but I tell you, they are so powerful. They're so profound. They will secrete things into your blood that you cannot find on any shelf. They are not in any bottle of vitamins. They are not in any vitamin in particular. They are not in any product you can find. They're inside your own body. They're inside your own being, and they're called hormones, cell-to-cell communicators, and there's only two kinds, life hormone and death hormone. Qigong is all about turning back on the life hormone that lives in your body, lives in your being. So with that in mind, this is the why anyone would ever practice this practice for more than 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Because if you don't have the knowledge and the wisdom that says, I'm turning on the most powerful medicine that is known to mankind that lives inside my body, if you don't know that, you're not going to practice this for 2 minutes. 2 minutes maybe, but then you'll never practice it again. But if you know that you're doing something like that and you stick with it just long enough to find out, that's when you'll practice it for years like I did, because it healed my spine. It's changed my life. And I'm still looking for it to change my life because I noticed some gray coming into my hair and I want to reverse that. I noticed that I have some bags building underneath my eyes. I want to reverse that. I want to reverse that aging process. That's what these hormones have the power to do. So go ahead and hold your arms out like this again. We're going to go back to this pose. And breath of fire, we're going to add to it now. And again, if this is too difficult for you to start with, literally, just start like this, guys. Okay? Legs straight. Okay? Later, we can get into the bent legs, and I'm just going to stay like this with you. So for those of you who feel like that other part is too challenging, that you could practice with me just like this. And you won't feel bad about practicing like this if I practice like this too. So let's just all practice like this together for a little bit. And so breath of fire now is going to be in and out through the nose. And the idea is that it's going to raise your belly up and down. So we'll come back to this in just a second. Bring your hands back down to where we were before, lower dantien. Inhale, exhale through the nose. Belly goes up, belly comes down. That's the idea with this breath. So it goes in, out, both through the nose. And you can see my chest coming up a little bit, but it's because my belly's coming up big and it's making my chest move. Just understand the breath is in the belly. And now it goes a little more rapid, and see if you can hear me. I'm just going to get a little closer for a moment, see if you can hear this. And can you see my belly a little bit moving? And then every once in a while, you just regular inhale. And when I say once in a while, a good time frame to do it is just when like you're trying to do the breath of fire, you need a break. So then just take an inhale, regular exhale, go back to breath of fire. And then regular inhale, exhale. You may notice, okay, right now this is happening to me. Some of you may notice this at home. I'm getting this like swallowing sensation. It feels like one of my ears is plugged over here. Part of that may be from swimming last night, but part of it is also when the endocrine system starts to get moved around, you get these clearings that start to happen. So this is starting to happen in my throat. As I'm generating enough heat and enough energy and so forth in my belly, okay, that's moving up and it's clearing my throat. The belly, through the organ system, comes all the way up to the throat in terms of the esophagus, in terms of the trachea. And up here, you end up with this clearing. And then, of course, we also have the thyroid gland here. So that's starting to be stimulated. Nose, throat, ears starting to pop a little bit, things starting to change. That's all in relationship to Qi. So inhale, exhale, through the nose, we can apply that breath of fire position. Apply breath of fire to this position, this particular position. We can also apply breath of fire to this position we worked with. So if you go ahead and hold this position with me for a moment, bringing you back to this particular practice, you're holding this posture, okay, standing like a post. Knees are slightly bent, not totally locked. Otherwise, you're going to cut off your blood flow. Again, this is a good practice. It's one variation. This practice here is going to be harder, but it's all good. Whatever is comfortable for you. I like to switch it up too. So we're here like this. Now let's say the most I can hold this is a minute. So we're going to hold this for approximately 1 minute based on my internal clock. We're going to hold this for 1 minute, 60 seconds roughly. And then in 60 seconds, when the challenge starts to come on, let's just say, I start feeling challenged by the practice. And actually, it's about what it takes for me today. I lifted some pretty intense weights last night and did a lot of weightlifting last night, pull-ups, dips, push-ups. My shoulders are very sore, so actually to hold my arms here for a minute is actually challenging for me today. So it's actually how long it takes for me to feel challenged. So there I am. I'm feeling challenged now. My arms are already starting to shake. Like, what are you holding me up here for? Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use breath of fire to go a minute longer. So we're going to use breath of fire to charge up the energy to maintain the position. When you're ready, begin. In and out through the nose. And remember, every once in a while, inhale. Exhale when you need a break. Inhale. Exhale. And just go ahead and let that go. Shake it out, a little tapping, especially in those places that are stiff. Like right there, that's a stiff place for me. Again, for you, just light tapping, whatever you got. If you're like a weightlifter or a runner or something, you do a lot of exercise, martial artists, you can actually hit yourself pretty good. Okay, but if you're not used to working out, your body is, your bones and your muscles and stuff are not as built up, and it's just a light tap. Either way, the main idea is to impact the lymph system. Even if you're lifting weights or something, you don't necessarily have to hit yourself hard. It's just a light tapping. Technically, if you hit yourself more light, you're going to work that lymph system. You hit yourself a little bit harder, you're going to innervate the muscle, and you're actually going to affect the blood more. It's just something to contemplate. And for those of you who are, hard style practitioners who are hitting yourselves like this, for example, which most of you aren't, but some of you might be. If you're hitting your arm, toughening up for like martial art and so on, this actually develops the bone. So not only are you developing the musculature, you're going to develop the bone. The bone is going to get stronger because in doing that, you're really adding some force there, and the bone will have to build itself up to dealing with and handling that kind of force. Okay? Go ahead and take a few deep breaths. So wherever you are, whether you'd like to stand or you'd like to sit, I'd like you to just take a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and I prefer you close your eyes, but it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to gaze, if your eyes are open, I'll say it this way. If your eyes are open, gaze. So this would be gazing. This would be looking, like looking around the room. So if you're going to keep eyes open during a meditative pose or posture or a meditative moment, gaze. Otherwise, close the eyes. So from seated position or standing position, go ahead and close the eyes. Literally, physically still the body. The emotional mind, that which produces a lack of mental clarity, which some teachers refer to as the ego. Some teachers will refer to as the monkey mind. Some teachers will refer to as the emotional body. It's really all the same thing. But it's always calling to you, and it's always trying to get you to do something. Whether you realize it or don't realize it, it's always trying to get you to do something. Do this, go here, go there, figure this out, figure that out. If you want to master those emotions, master your mind, thereby improving your life in terms of who and what you attract into your life, because all that's coming into your life is coming there because it is attracted to your internal emotional state. Not what you're pretending your internal emotional state is, but what it actually is. And improving what is flowing through your energy system, your blood, your lymphatic system, etc., so that you can bring some longevity into your life. If you want to do that, then practicing a form of stillness practice like this is very important in your life if you're going to finish this marathon called your life. See if you can notice your breath. See if you can notice any improved space at all in your body, in your being. And go ahead and take a deep breath. Excellent. So hopefully you feel some improvement in terms of your body, in terms of your being, in terms of your mental clarity, and so on. So understand, in conclusion of our class today, again, first of all, thanks so much for coming out and joining me. It was great to have you here. I can definitely feel it when I'm doing a live program versus one that's not live. In other words, I can feel the presence of people who are there on the other side, and that always helps. I think the people who are going to go back and watch it later and see the recorded version of working with me, it just always gives greater energy when I have people to practice with in the moment that I'm filming, whether it's here in person or across the country. So anyway, thanks so much for coming out and helping me with that. I hope you have some new ideas, a new sort of overall theme of how these practices work, how Qigong works, and how Qigong can help you and assist you. And also that you have some practical applications of how it is you can begin to create mental clarity in your body and in your being, in your mind, but also in your body, because they are one and the same. Your body is your temple. And if it is not clear, you're not clear on the level of the mind, well, then you're not clear on the level of the emotions. If we can do practices that clear up the emotional content, which of course is the emotional content of yesterday, when we can clear that up and stop carrying it with us, we can enter the place that many teachers refer to as the moment, being in the moment, having a moment of clarity, entering a state of no mind, of clear mind, of Zen mind. These are all references to this idea that I was sharing with you. And so Qigong is a means to get us there. And it's not just about, and I hope I made this clear, but it's not just about getting to that place of I'm off somewhere and I'm enlightened, or I've arrived somewhere, or it's a totally spiritual thing, because life is a spiritual thing. It's actually about just being happy where you are and actually healing your physical body, having health and feeling good. It's honestly, it's as simple as feeling good. We don't feel good when all of that baggage is there. So these are practices to deal with that baggage that's there in the most effective way that I've ever found personally. That's why I have to share it with you. Some of you may know, some of you may not, but I started my journey at 15 years old with a diseased spine and struggling in my life and being told that I'd be crippled by the time I was 30. I was mentally, emotionally, physically distraught. Qigong and these practices turned me on to a way out of all of that. And so I hope that it benefits you in the way that it did me. Absolutely radically shifted my body. There was no way I could be running, swimming, lifting weights, doing Spartan events and so on and so forth, 10-mile runs and 13-mile runs and almost marathons. I haven't done a full marathon yet, but I've done about 23 miles. Anyway, I couldn't do any of that stuff at 15 years old, none of it. Qigong paved that way for me as a possibility. It's a very potent practice. I recommend that you practice just a couple of these practices. Take your favorite one, holding the lower dantien, standing in this posture like this, breathing breath of fire, in and out through the nose. Practice it. Go to one of our other videos, one of the online videos, the 20-minute, 23-minute videos, Qigong for energy or Qigong for reducing stress. Buy that, so it's less than $5. Go ahead and buy it. Practice it with me on a daily basis. It will go a long way to radically shifting your life in terms of bringing you greater mental clarity, bringing you greater longevity, and helping you heal anything that you have going on in your body that you need to heal. I know of no more potent medicine on any shelf anywhere, which is why at my office and in my private practice, I do not sell those kind of products. It's not that I don't take this one or that herb or this or that here and there myself. I do, but it's minimal on the level that it is in comparison, because I understand that the greatest medicine that we know of lives in our body. It's related to the endocrine system. It's called hormone, and that is related to the practice of Qigong. And Qigong is going to sit with you, it's going to stick with you, and it's going to make that shift and that change in your body and in your being. So anyway, without further ado, I wish you well. I send you off on your day. Have a fantastic day. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. I'm David J. Coon from Qigong Awareness, QigongAwareness.com. Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you again.